what was your score? Start with the score of season 2 as a whole, and
Okay.
then give us your finale score.
So my season 2 as a whole was a 2.5,
Oh, damn.
and my season finale was a 3.
All right. So we're just gonna jump right into it. So we're here to talk. I know we're way late on this, but as you can see, we working people over here. Emily, she's in her work gear right now. So
Yep.
so I got my guest Megan and I got Emily. This is the first time. This is history. Got them both together at the same time. So definitely gonna be fun. Definitely gonna be great. So we're here to discuss 1923 Yellowstone season 2, the finale, and just the season as a whole. So before we started recording, we had a little brief discussion, and I guess we're gonna go back, have that discussion again on the score. Now we score 0 to 5, 0 being trash and 5 being a masterpiece. So, ladies, once again, we'll start with Megan, and then we'll go to you, Emily, Iron Lady, and then I'll go last. So what was your score? Start with the score of season 2 as a whole,
Okay.
and then give us your finale score.
So my season 2 as a whole was a 2.5, and my season finale was a 3.
Okay, Emily.
I also rated season 2 at 2.5, and I did give the finale a 3.5.
3.5. Okay. I gave the season as a whole, I gave it a 3.5, like the season as a whole, and then I guess I was a little generous and gave the finale a 4. But maybe I would say, in retrospect, I would probably say just 3.5s across the board for me. 3.5s across the board. So we got the scores out of the way. Well, it seems like we'll have a lot to talk about when it comes to the bad. So we'll start. What was it in the season that really didn't do it for you? So we'll go ahead. Once again, we'll start with Megan, and then we'll work our way down. And feel free to chime in, as we go. So Megan, go ahead. Tell us a couple things that just didn't do it for you.
I think the main thing was, and I think you might have mentioned this the last time we talked, and I know my husband mentioned this. We were guessing and not hoping that it would take the whole season for Spencer to get there. And sure enough, it just I feel like the finale could have come halfway through this season. I mean, I really do. Or that they could have just sped it up in some way. So that was really that for me. And then the other thing that I really did not like was that that Alex died. I thought that was like, yeah, no, that didn't sit well with me. So I was like, that one should have stuck around. So those are the two things that really kind of killed it for me for the season.
Okay, Emily.
I'm with you, Megan, on one of the biggest downfalls for me was just how long it took Spencer to get there. They had built it up since the first season about him getting there, and he gets there. And I'm at least expecting there to be like a lot of effort put into like all these skills he's supposed to be bringing, where he's going to bring everybody together and there's going to be a plan and they're going to overthrow these guys. He came in, he shot for 3 seconds, and then he goes to kill Whitfield, and it's like he didn't even have to do that because Jacob was already there. Jacob could have done it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but he didn't
bring
bring
unsatisfying death. Yes, it was just a very unsatisfying death. Yeah,
he didn't bring anything to the table. I was expecting some like really thought out, meticulous like war games, and I'm like, this is what we waited 2 seasons for. And I don't have a problem so much with Alex dying because I thought it was very poetic in how they did it. But I'm just going to be honest. At some point, I just wanted her to say in this journey, you know what? He isn't that good looking, and just go home. Right? Because I mean, oh my God, I mean, people are dying to get her to him. And I'm thinking, okay, like,
Yeah.
I mean, he's not that good looking, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the whole Spencer, the Odyssey. I mean, I want to just call him Odysseus because, it's just how long it took. Because I figured what I thought was going to happen was the attack that we saw in the trailer. I thought they were going to get attacked midway through the season, and it was going to be like all is lost. And Spencer shows up around episode 4 or 5, and because I think you should have had more of the family dynamic, like have him come home. Maybe Jack has some sort of resentment to him because my dad died, you weren't here, like and now you come here and you're the savior. Where do I stand in all this? Kind of thing. Like, not to make it complete melodrama, but I just think there should have been more time with the family. And I'll talk about I'll talk about what some of the things I thought as well. But yes, I think we're all three in agreement that they took way too long for him to get there.
Oh yeah,
I think he should have been there an episode or 2 before. Yeah, the Alex death. I knew it was 1 or 2. Either Elizabeth was going to die or Alex. I didn't see both of them making it, and so Taylor Sheridan, he loves those tragedies.
He does.
Because he's one of those they're star-crossed lovers that and they gave him the Jack and Rose ending from Titanic. I know some people were confused. I'm like, okay, you're really showing your age, because if you're of a certain age, how this is Titanic. It's basically with Titanic. They both died, and they did that with Elsa. They ended the same way. She got, and that's the other thing I want to talk about. Elsa, and I've heard other people mention her narration. It just, you would think, because she's in the next phase, the next life, it would be more like hopeful, but it just sounds so damn depressing when she's on there.
Yeah. So, I could have used, and I probably would have scored the finale higher if at the end, I would have liked to have seen maybe a little bit of the father-son montage, because obviously the child survives, because the Duttons do move on. So like she's narrating like that he had another son by a widow but never married, and then it just shows him as an old man dying. I'm like, well, couldn't we have gotten a little bit of like him with his son doing some cattle ranching type stuff and see like a boy through the years? Like 1883 did the same thing to us. Like, okay, the Duttons got there, but we didn't get any building of the ranch of the Yellowstone. It would have been nice, like, if they'd have extended that to a season 2, and we could have seen Jacob come into the family. Like, I feel like these seasons and series could have set each other up a little bit better and maybe been more cohesive. But like you said, like with Elsa just dying at the end, and then Alex just dying at the end, and we just know these families go on because of the original Yellowstone, but there's no like nice transition. And like you said, family dynamics. Like, I'd like to see more of how these families started and built and went on. It doesn't have to be fully detailed, but give us something,
Meghan, you bring up a good, I was gonna say, you bring up
no, go ahead. No.
House. I was thinking about the house, because I feel like the house is its own character that's made it through 2 of these series. And if you remember, now I'm not going to remember his name. I think the original John, right? Tim McGraw's character told his wife he was going to build her home. James. He was going to build her home so big she'd get lost in. But then, if I recall, that little blip that we got in Yellowstone where they went back to them when he got like a gut shot and didn't want to go into the house, and didn't want to get blood on the floor, and we assume maybe that's when he died. We don't know. I mean,
we don't.
That wasn't the house.
We have to fill in so many gaps ourselves, you know?
Like, that house wasn't there yet. So I'm like, so if he died before that house was built, who built this giant home?
Right.
What
was the evolution of the whole thing? Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think what happened was, this is like, I don't think Taylor Sheridan expected Yellowstone to be the hit that it was. So they're like, maybe he thought it was going to be a hit, but he didn't think people would be so interested in the Duttons. So he had to create all this history on the fly, because a lot of the times we got plot holes. He said, and that's why I'm like, we still don't know for sure if Spencer's the grandpa, because in the previous seasons he said his grandfather lost his leg in the war.
Yeah.
Spencer had both legs, and I don't think he fought in World War II. Even though there were guys who fought in both wars, I don't think Spencer went to war again, because who's going to run the ranch? Because Jack is dead. Like, who's going to run the ranch? So
Right.
That's a little plot hole, and that's what makes me get like they're making this up like he's kind of making the history as it goes, because I've seen people do the chart of the family and they go, well, if it's this way, then there's no way that Casey's son is the 7th generation. He's like the 6th. Right. So like it's he's kind of going fast and loose with it. I would say.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of one of those like, oh, I gotta, because the guy who wrote the Game of Thrones book, he calls himself a gardener. Like he comes up with a storyline and he may prune it as he goes and, oh, I'll change this and do that. Where I think this guy, he's trying to make up history as it goes. I mean, he's doing a pretty good job for making it up on the fly. But so one of the issues, I had a couple. One of the issues I had was Whitfield. I think it was wasted potential. Once again, one of those, what was it all about? They made him, like I said, I don't know if I'd ever want to get into the mind of Taylor Sheridan because for the BDSM stuff, I mean, I get it, maybe once or twice, but it's like over and over again.
Like, we get it, he's bad, he's evil.
Yeah, he's dirty. Look what he does.
He's dirty old man.
Where I think you had the potential, like I said, Timothy Dalton, guy was a James Bond. And even in this show, there were parts of him that were charming and suave. What would make him a good bad guy is he wants to come in and do all those things, but hey, what if he's opening up the potential for jobs? Like, and it's enticing some of the local people. Like, hey, I don't want to be a farmer, because most of those guys were farmers out of necessity. But if you can offer something else, and that was stuff that was going on in the Yellowstone show. I don't know which season. I think it was season 5 or 4, where the Yellowstone guys went over and helped another farm, and the guy was saying, and he's like, his kids are going to college. They don't want anything to do with this, and I, appreciate ripping them for coming to help them. That isn't just something that would happen then. That's something throughout time. Like, kids will be like, I don't want to, like, they want to do something else, or they want to escape the small town. And I think if you did it, Whitfield, with a little bit of nuance with that, where maybe some people got behind him, and you have to be like somewhat, hey, he's got a point. Like, if you bring jobs, create jobs, it makes more money. And, and then you have the clash of the progressive new school versus the Duttons old ways. Yeah. And then because you could see both sides. But in this one, you would have to, something would have to be truly wrong with you if you're like, oh, I'm with that guy. I'm with that guy. I want to be with him.
You like more complex villains, don't you, P?
Yeah. You want to make it to where, there is some bit of, because everybody in their own story is the hero. A villain never thinks he's evil. He never, I think Whitfield's like, he knows he's evil, but, and so also another thing was the Tiona storyline. I think you could have just got rid of that completely. Yeah. Because I think wasting time on her, I don't want to say wasting time, but her storyline, because I said they could have made a 6-part miniseries just for her, focusing on her story. But the combination of her and Whitfield, it took time away from other characters like Jack. They never developed Jack. It's just like, what was his purpose of being there? And see, if you took away some of that, we could have got some more development of Jack. Because I find Jack, like I said, to be, he could have been a very interesting character, because
very much.
I talked about how at one point, he's in that middle stage, like when the war was going on with Whitfield, where Jacob's too old to fight the war. Mm-hmm. Spencer's away, because that's who you want. He's in his prime. Whereas Jack, he's in that in between. He's not really a man, but he's not a boy. And
we could have seen a little bit of like Casey in him, like that type of drive, and like, yeah.
And like I said, he had that youthfulness where he's quick to want to run into the fight. Ultimately, that's what got him taken out. But those are kind of the two major issues I had, along with you guys, with the Spencer taking too long to get there. Like I said, just other little things, like just gratuitous things, like why the hell do they have the sisters of Sovereign or whatever the sisters with the lady tarred and feathered and what was that? What's the point of that? What are we doing here? Oh yeah, and the guy being raped on the. I mean, okay, I get it. If that's happening, do we have to see it? And
it's like there were a lot of effort spent building up like what this time was like. So I imagine those are real things that were happening, but again, there's just not enough episode to like.
Well, they still have them today in prisons.
Yeah, very well. But and like with Jack and even Tiana, I feel like there was a lot more investment in their stories in the first season, but they kind of just like fizzled out in the second. Like I feel like they had opportunity going into the second season, but it was almost like leftovers. Like, oh yeah, we gotta tie these loose ends up.
Yeah.
Okay, and then like I said, with I didn't expect the whole how Spencer and Alex reunited. I mean, okay, I'll go with it, but I mean, it's just what a coincidence. And then he jumps off a moving train and he's just fine. And then the whole thing, a thing that annoyed me was the couple, because at first I was like, maybe this couple is like sheep, like a sheep. Wolf in sheep clothing, like they're luring her, like, oh man, they're gonna mess around and be friends with Whitfield somehow or whatever. But but the lady told them, nah, you don't want to go out there. There ain't no more gas stations. And they like, oh, they drink and having a good time. I'm like, what? Come on now, man.
They just created extra. Do you remember when Casey's wife, when she got in that car wreck and lost the baby, and it's just kind of like drama for the sake of drama? I feel like the road trip was drama for the sake of drama. Like, I love that they reunited on the train. Why couldn't she have made it to a train station and they happened to be on the same train? You know, that could have been a great reunion.
Exactly. They could have had a scenario where she's trying to get on the train and like, no, man, you can't get on. And then he happens to look and like
there she is.
And then you already see the one guy gave him some respect because he knew he was a soldier. So maybe that guy intervenes and goes, no, she's coming on.
Yes.
And did it that way.
She wouldn't have had to
die. She wouldn't have had to die.
Yeah.
Well, so we got most of the bad out of the way. So what are some of the good things? What did you like this, season as an overall, or the go ahead with the finale? Just overall, what were some things you liked in general?
I will say I am always impressed. Taylor Sheridan does do a good job of creating an epic. Like, I mean, yes, there are some bad things he does do with that, but he picks excellent actors for his characters. And the scenes and the shots and just, the picture he does create is really good. The story just lacks a little bit, especially the cohesiveness, the flow. But I truly enjoy the vision that he has in actually all of his shows. I'll say he does really good first seasons. I love every first season Taylor Sheridan does, but I'm questioning whether to watch Landman season 2 now. And I did start Lioness and stopped halfway through season 2.
Yeah. Emily, I think you said you tried Landman and was like,
it's so foul. And like, it's just it's like, Landman to me is like a bachelor thing, like I get why guys, like, I don't know. And I love Billy Bob Thornton. I don't know. I may have to give it another go if I get real desperate.
The thing that nearly took, not to take up time, but the thing that took me away from Landman was I ended up watching it, but I was really like, I don't know about this. The dog, him and his daughter, like him, I was like, come on. And no daughter is going to talk to her father like that in front of him like that. No way. I don't care how. For one, if the daughter does, the father's going to shut it down. I don't care what the relationship is. It'd be, my dad is my best friend. He's not going to want to hear all that.
No, so that's what did it for me. I couldn't do that.
Go ahead.
Things I did like about this series, in this season, actually, like Aunt Cara, like he nailed it with her character. Everything about her I've just absolutely loved. It's not a waste of screen time when she's on it. And even her relationship with Jacob, I really like that dynamic in this show, because Taylor Sheridan's always one about having a strong woman character. And I love seeing that, like, while these guys are out doing this, she's still holding down the fort, you know. And I thought that was well done.
I was gonna say, I think he did well. He does well with women characters. At least he did at the beginning with Beth, and then she just fell off the rails. Like she became something else. But yes, I do agree. He does a great job of just not only strong women, but other like hit the storyline with Elizabeth. You know, like she built her up to being able to do something. And also, even though she gets on a lot of people's nerves, Monica, you know, she's different from Beth. Like, so I definitely, he does an annoying wife and daughter on Landman. He does it all. But yes, he does a very good job of the strong. Like, you even go back to I can't remember Faith Hill's character's name, but the mom,
I loved her.
Great. They do a great job with that. Anything else?
I do like, because I'm always big on a period piece, right? Like, I think it's very interesting because you can get some like historical context, even if it's a fictional story. And I think one of the things that stuck out to me as interesting is just that era, like kind of the boom era, where all of a sudden we see like people are impressed by electricity. You know, it just takes a few seconds of that, like where when Banner walked into Whitfield's place, he's just like blown away. I think that kind of stuff, like those details are important as long as they don't distract from the storyline. And so some of that stuff in terms of kind of like what you're talking about, Meghan, I mean, just he really nails like the time period and that kind of stuff. Like I appreciate that, you know.
So. Yeah, I will start with the actors. I thought a great job all around. I think, you know, the actor who played Spencer did a great job. I mean, he's right at a central casting: tall, dark, handsome, silent type, stoic. You know, it's funny I saw a picture of him without that mustache. He just looks like a dweeb. Like you would be like, that's the same guy? Like,
well, he said he's not that good looking. Maybe the mustache does a lot more for him.
Because he like you said, and one thing I noticed, he bulked up for the season. Jen
said the same thing. He's like,
see how guys are bigger. See, that's the thing. Like, you know, not to go too far off topic, but that's the thing about working out. Like, dudes be thinking they working out for the lady. No, it's only guys who be like, oh man, you looking jacked, man.
Yeah,
right away. See, that's what like.
He pointed it out. I was like, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, he did. He bulked up. He got a lot bigger. And so, like I said, some people were saying Harrison Ford was playing stiff, but I think I think his character was gruff, but then you saw moments of vulnerability, like when he went to Elizabeth and talked to her, like, you know, about the Yellowstone, and then of course his scenes with Alex, and then just the effect she had on him. Just in his short time with her. So I thought, like I said, Harrison Ford, I thought he was great.
I wish he did more soft parts like that, because we don't see him do those kinds of roles. And I'm like you said, like, they're short, but they're really good. And I'm like, maybe you should get away from these like gruff, tough, anti-hero, hero type parts, because he did do a very good job with those. I agree.
And of course Helen Mirren did an amazing job as Aunt Cara. You know, she was definitely the heart of the family. And I thought it was so touching when Alex died, and he was, Cara, I don't know what to do. And she's like, you know, you're not, she's like, I've done it before, and I'll take care of it for you. So like, it was a beautiful thing for her, because she didn't have any children, and she gets to do it again one last time. So that was beautiful. Like I said, Helen Mirren was great. Like I said, Taylor Sheridan as a whole, he knows how to create a universe, a world. It definitely it felt lived in. It felt real. I definitely love that. But like you said, he does a great season one. You know, he's kind of a person. I do something, I got to move on to the next. Kind of thing. A lot of people wish he would just slow it down a little bit and kind of focus more on on one or two shows instead of trying to create all these shows.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought that was great. Another thing I have to give it up is Banner.
Yeah.
I felt he may have redeemed himself.
Yeah.
Like I always knew. I mean, Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles could see he was going to turn on Whitfield. It didn't go the way I thought it was going to go. I thought he was going to make it. Well, I guess it kind of did, but I thought it was going to result in him helping set them up and then get out of there. But of course, he didn't get out of there. But I think at the end of the day, he redeemed himself, because I think a lot of people misinterpret his character. I don't think his character was a bad guy. I think he was just he was a desperate man. He was trying to provide for his family, and his way of life to provide for them was getting threatened. And Jacob was in the way of stopping that. You do that to anybody, any man. He's going to do what he has to do for provide and protect for his family. And for him, if it's one of those things where, see, Whitfield is greedy. He wanted to take the Dutons, but if Jacob would have allowed to let his sheep graze, they wouldn't have had no problem.
No.
Right.
So that's why I kind of sympathize with the character. And I think the actor Jerome Flynn, who's known for Game of Thrones, I think he did an amazing job. Definitely this season, he was one of the stars of this season. And a lot of his acting, it was like just the emoting of emotions. Like, he's walking in and seeing what Whitfield's doing, and you just see the disillusion, the hurt, the disappointment. And he's thinking about, what kind of man am I going to be? My son, my son, how's he going to look up to me? And, he felt bad about that. And that's why I said, like, creating a nuanced character. See, if they would have did something like that with Whitfield, I maybe would have went up a point or two.
He was probably one of the more relatable characters.
Yes. I agree.
Yeah.
That's a great description. Very relatable. Very relatable character. But yeah, see, he got taken out.
And like, what was it that he said at the end about like how he's making money but he's not earning it?
Yeah.
Not all. He doesn't feel good about what he's doing. He's constantly conflicted, and I thought that was very, very a great line for him to like.
Yeah, like they say, not all money is good money.
Right.
No.
Like I said, he made a Faustian deal with the devil, and now he's like regretting it. But yeah.
Question.
Yes.
Where Whitfield tells them to take the bodies, is that the train station?
Yes.
Okay.
And no, see, I thought that Banner was going to be the link to that. Like, they were going to kill Whitfield, and he was going to be like, "Hey, I know."
Oh, that would have been a better death. Yes, if he'd have done Whitfield in and took him to the train station.
Yeah.
That would have been
he told he killed them with the Duttons or whatever. And he says, "Hey, I know a place." It would be poetic. It would be poetic justice where he had the girl dumped. He should get dumped there too.
Yes, that would have been so much more satisfying.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
But now you don't know. We don't know. How do we know? How did the Duttons find out about it?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do they learn about that? That's
like I said, there should be more transition. Like 1883 could have used a season 2, and you could have brought Jacob in, and we could have seen the start of the ranch, and then you could have jumped to 1923, and then. Yeah, this could have used a little bit of a montage with Spencer and his son, or even the other son that supposedly got born later. And like, who are those two?
Yeah.
And then once again, this show made me even madder because these guys are fighting for their lives, and the goddamn Casey and Beth don't even they basically give up the Yellowstone.
Right.
I don't want it. I don't. And then even at the end, and it even made me even more mad. Okay, they give up the Yellowstone, but then they have all the stuff from all the generations, and Beth's like, "What do you want to do with it?" And Casey's like, and she's like, "Keep it for your son. You might want to know where he's from." So that right there just pissed me off. I'm like, all this I'm not even in that universe. I'm in the real world. You're in a fictional story that's about your family. You don't even care about, everything they went through. That's the one thing that one of the main things that bothers me that I just can't stand about the new Yellowstone, with the exception of course, John Dutton, because he's more closely connected to, because that's his grandfather's. Well, we think Spencer's his grandfather, so he heard those tales directly.
Yeah,
From somebody who went through that, who was connected. Like Spencer was connected to James, who was the founder of the family, and Jacob, who's probably the most important Dutton, because without Jacob, they wouldn't have happened.
Lost it a lot sooner. Yeah.
And then, like I said, what they say, as they had that saying, the first generation suffers, and the second one they get the benefits, and then by the third they kind of it isn't as important to them, and they tend to lose.
Kept it longer than 3 generations.
That's true. That is true. But like I said, most of that was because of John Dutton, the second, and the third. Because like I said, they're closely more connected to that past. But before we get out of here, just your thoughts on what it looks like we're getting a 1944. What do you guys think about that? We'll start with me.
So is this the one that Matthew McConaughey is going to be in?
I don't know. I don't think he's going to. At this point, they had said they couldn't come to, I think it was a money thing, or something, last I heard. But who knows? He could come around or whatever, because this show was really successful. So who knows? They might be able to find some more money in their coffers and be able to give Matthew McConaughey. Or I don't know. You might be able to find an unknown. Like I said, the guy that played Spencer, they found a guy that was unknown, and his career starting to take off, from the show. So I think you need a mix of both. Like whoever's going to play Spencer, because he would have to be a part of the show because he dies in 1969. That person needs to be a well-known, established actor. But others around, you can find some people here and there. But I don't know.
Patterns, the first season should be pretty good.
Yeah.
I'll probably watch it, but I'll be hard pressed to okay. He does really good season 1 finales. You're ready to see season 2. So, if he follows his pattern, I'm sure it'll be a great season. He'll do great characters, and it'll be very entertaining and epic. So, I'll check it out for sure.
What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I just hope that it airs more on the side of 1883, which I still think is just an incredible show. Whereas Yellowstone got to be very it felt like a soap opera. And so I hope it airs more on the side of 1883. And I would say that 1923 on that spectrum fell just a little closer to 1883 than Yellowstone. Yeah. So I'm I hope we keep it on that side.
Because
either way, I'll watch it.
Yeah, because I think this show has the potential that this might be, this 1944 might be like a civil war, within the family, because we have, Jack, Elizabeth was pregnant. They didn't really talk about it, but Elizabeth was pregnant. And they implied, I don't know how, it is what it is. I think they said it was a son. So you have that kid who has more of an inheritance rights to the land than Spencer does, because he is the grandson of John Dutton the first, who was Jack's dad. So he would have more of a claim. And then you have the other son that he had from the widow, which is, I heard a theory that people were saying Elizabeth is the widow.
I wondered about that. If in biblical times where you marry your departed brother's wife, he didn't marry her.
Medieval times and stuff.
Right. I'm I don't know. I guess I could see it, but I did think.
Yeah, but then how would they? Because she leaves to go to Boston, right?
Maybe she comes back with her baby.
Maybe she comes back with the baby, so that maybe who knows? That would be interesting, actually.
Yeah, because I think that would cause, like I said, a civil. Because think about it, Elizabeth goes back east. Well, the Yellowstone sequel show, the Madison, it's about a family from the east that comes to Montana that settles not in the area. It's an area near the Yellowstone, the Madison. Could that person be a descendant of Jack? and I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they do with these connections. But yeah, that's what I'm possibly potentially thinking that 1944 it could be, you know, some kind of family civil war, because you think about what's going on at that time. I mean, World War II is going on at that time. Uh, they just made it through the Great Depression, so Spencer got them through that. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting. He's got his hands full on his shows. So yeah, you know, that's basically it. That's all I got. You guys got anything?
That baby was creepy. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh God! Oh jeez! I was like, it looks so. Ugh. Yeah.
Yeah. I just tried to gloss that over.
Yeah. Like, oh, I was like, oh my.
The whole thing. No.
Yeah.
Like, we could have just had an implied swaddle.
Yeah, like you just you just don't need to,
Yeah.
you know, see that or whatever. But
yeah,
poor Elizabeth or poor Alex. She went on that journey, and you know, much to if you think about it, her journey was much like Elsa's.
Yeah.
Yeah, she you know, Elsa had a couple loves of her life, but you know, she had a short time, and they gave him the Titanic ending.
Died young and beautiful. Yep.
At the end. Wow. Yeah, you know. So like I said, it's like I said, I thought it was good. Could have been better. So I'm currently watching that Helen Mirren show, Mobland, with Tom Hardy. It's pretty good. They got a great cast. It's on Paramount Plus. It's got Tom Hardy, Pierce Brosnan. Helen Mirren. Yeah, it's Patty Considine, who played Viserys on House of the Dragon. Like, it's a nice little show.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a little gun shy with Pierce Brosnan because he did The Sun, and then yeah.
Maybe I didn't see that. I don't think I saw that. Okay. I love Pierce Brosnan.
If you watch The Sun, watch the first season and just stop. It doesn't conclude well because there's other seasons, but
is
just
that
stop at that one.
He's a landowner in Texas. Yeah, I started that, but I had a hard time with him with the Texas accent. It was like ruining me on him.
Yeah, but it's another good first season show, and then they just.
Okay.
That's got to be tough for an Irishman to do a Texas accent.
Yeah, probably would be.
No. But yeah, the show, like I said, the show's pretty good. I mean, it's kind of like if you've ever watched a Guy Ritchie, like Snatch, kind of like it's kind of got that kind of feel to it. It's got a lot of dark humor, of course, violence, but at points there's like I said, it's dark humor. So. But all right, well, if you guys don't have anything else, we'll go ahead and tap out. Guys, thanks once again, Meghan, for coming on, and Emily finally got all three of us together.
Yeah.
We'll definitely have to do this again. So yeah, guys, like I said, once again, thanks for coming by.
No problem.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys in the next video.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, bye-bye.